Let's explore a question that echoes through the ages. How do we find real freedom? I'm not just talking about freedom from things out there in the world, but freedom from the fear, the turmoil, the stuff inside that truly holds us captive. Ancient wisdom, it turns out, has a map for this journey. You know that feeling, right? In those quiet moments when it's just you and your thoughts, it can feel like there's a war going on inside. A clash between the person you want to be and these impulses you just can't seem to shake. This isn't some new age problem. Turns out it's a core part of the human condition, and there's an ancient way of understanding it. All right, so to even begin to find a way out, we first have to understand what we're up against. We need to get a clear look at this inner battlefield and the forces at play. So the ancient scriptures actually have a name for this, Asuri Pravritti. Now, that might sound intense. It translates to something like demonic tendencies. But this isn't about literal demons with horns and tails. It's about the destructive, unwholesome forces that can rise up from within us. And the scriptures give us a surprisingly clear roadmap of how they show up. The Manusmriti lays this out with stunning clarity. It's broken down into 3 stages. And notice where it all begins, in the mind. Coveting what others have, holding on to ill will, clinging to beliefs that just aren't true. Then it leaks out into our words, abuse, lies, gossip. And only then does it finally manifest as physical action. The key takeaway here, the battle is won or lost in our minds long before it ever touches the outside world. Okay, so we have these tendencies, these actions, but why is it such a big deal? What's the real consequence? Well, this leads us to one of the most powerful and honestly misunderstood ideas in all of Eastern thought, the inescapable law of karma. You know, karma gets a bad rap sometimes. People think it's just fate or destiny, but it's so much more elegant than that. Think of it like a fundamental law of spiritual physics. Every single thing we do, every action, every word, even every single thought sends a ripple out into the universe. It creates an echo, a momentum that literally shapes the reality we experience next. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The Manusmriti doesn't just talk in abstracts. It gets incredibly specific to illustrate the point. It draws these direct, almost poetic lines between an action and its consequence. Now, the idea here isn't just simple punishment. It's about resonance. It's that our actions literally shape our consciousness, and that consciousness will naturally be drawn to a future that matches its vibration. So that begs the question, right? If karma is the law, what's the force that's pushing us to act in the first place? Well, the scriptures point to 3 fundamental energies or qualities that make up everything in the material universe. They're called the Gunas, and they exist in us too. The easiest way to think about them is like the 3 primary colors of our own consciousness. First, you have sattva. That's goodness, harmony, clarity, light. Then there's rajas. That's passion, ambition, activity. It's the engine. And finally, you have tamas, which is inertia, darkness, ignorance. Our inner state at any given moment is just a unique mix of these 3 forces, constantly shifting, pulling us towards certain thoughts and actions. The path to freedom, then, really starts with learning how to cultivate more sattva.
And that brings us to the first major path to freedom, Jnana Yoga. This is the path of wisdom, of knowing. It's about using the sharp sword of discernment to cut right through all the confusion and noise of the gunas.
Just listen to this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It really sets the stage for what we're about to explore. It's pointing to something inside of you, a reality that is completely untouched by the chaos of the world, untouched by birth and untouched by death. The path of wisdom is really a search for this eternal, unchanging self. So, what's the root of all our fear, all our suffering? Well, according to this path, it all boils down to one fundamental mistake. A case of mistaken identity. We think we are our bodies. We think we are our thoughts, our feelings. We cling to all the parts of us that are by their very nature temporary and always changing. And the Gita gives us this incredible metaphor to really grasp this. It talks about the field and the knower of the field. The field, the kshetra, is everything that changes. Your body, your mind, your ego, your desires, that's all just the stage, the playing field. But you are not the field. You are the kshetrajna, the knower of the field, the silent, eternal awareness that's just watching it all happen. So here's the absolute game changer. The whole point of Jnana Yoga is to fundamentally shift your sense of I, to go from thinking, I am this body, I am angry, I am sad, to realizing deep in your core, I am not any of that. I am the Atman, the eternal self that is simply witnessing it all. And in that space, in that realization, where can fear possibly find a foothold?
Okay, so that's the path of wisdom, right? Super analytical, a path of deep self-inquiry. But what if that's not your natural language? What if you operate more from the heart? Well, there's another path. This is the path of Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of pure, unconditional devotion.
This line from the Rum Treat Manas, it just captures the whole feeling of this path so perfectly. It talks about divine grace being like a bridge that can carry you over the massive, choppy ocean of day-to-day life. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, you don't have to make this journey all by yourself. So Bhakti Yoga, it tackles the very same problem but from a completely different angle. Instead of trying to intellectually take apart the ego, the goal here is to just dissolve it in an ocean of love. It's about taking all of your powerful emotions, your fear, your desire, your joy, and learning to channel them all towards a higher power, seeing the divine in absolutely everything.
And check this out. When you look at the qualities of a true devotee described in the Gita, you start to see something amazing. They look remarkably similar to the qualities of the wise person on the path of knowledge, free from attachment, unshaken by praise or criticism, perfectly content. It goes to show you that real devotion isn't just a big emotional display. It's a deep, profound inner transformation that leads to the exact same state of peace.
All right, so we've got these two incredible paths, the path of the mind and the path of the heart. But are they really that different? Or are they just two different doors leading into the very same room? Let's bring it all together. So let's map this out. The whole journey really starts the moment you recognize that inner conflict. From there, you get to choose a path that speaks to you. The path of wisdom carefully takes apart the false self piece by piece. The path of devotion melts the false self in the fire of love. But look at where they both end up. It's the exact same place, freedom from fear and a deep, abiding realization of who you truly are. And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? One. It's all about one. It doesn't matter if you climb the mountain of truth with the tools of the intellect, or if you're carried to the top on the wings of devotion. The view from the summit is exactly the same. The goal is one, to experience that singular, blissful reality that is your true home. And maybe this is the most powerful shift in perspective we can have. We started this whole conversation talking about an inner battle, but what both of these paths ultimately teach us is that freedom isn't won by fighting harder. It's not a battle at all. It's simply about waking up to a truth that has been waiting inside you all along. So, as we close this out, the real question for you isn't which path is better. There is no better. The question is, which one is calling to you, right here, right now? The path of the knowing mind or the path of the loving heart? Which one will you take the first step on today?